Tonight, we're in Israel. This country, alongside the United States, is ramping up its attacks on Iran and defending against fresh retaliation. Exclusive video of those efforts over Tel Aviv as the region spirals. Tens of thousands try to escape.
We cannot rely on our embassies. We cannot rely on our foreign affairs.
Canada calls to de-escalate.
Innocent civilians must be protected.
But what comes next and why the war started in the first place, well, that is as murky as ever.
It was my opinion that they were going to attack first.
And here in Canada, BC will launch a coroner's inquest into the Tumbler Ridge mass shooting.
We will be able to go back in time and look to see what shaped the individual.
From the shooter's mental health to how the guns were obtained, the search for answers. The FIFA World Cup kicks off in 100 days, but in Vancouver, soccer fans can't find a hotel.
My honeymoon was in Hawaii, and I'm pretty sure we paid less.
What's behind the shortage?
From CBC News, this is The National with Christine Barak and Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault in Tel Aviv.
Thanks for joining us here in Israel, where tonight there are deep concerns this conflict is about to escalate even further. Sirens and alerts have been sounding where I am in Tel Aviv all day and night, sending us and everyone else here repeatedly into bomb shelters. Tonight, Israel says it has launched a new broad wave of attacks against Iran. And Iran, of course, continues to retaliate, including taking aim today at the U.S. consulate in Dubai. No injuries there, but the number of dead from this conflict is climbing. The Iranian Red Crescent says more than 780 people there have been killed, including scores of children now being buried after their school was hit on day one of this war. Mark Carney tonight is calling for a diplomatic solution.
Canada calls for a rapid de-escalation of hostilities and is prepared to assist in achieving this goal. Resolution of this crisis will require commitment to a broader political solution.
In the meantime, though, there is a rush to try to get out of this region, but airspace is still shut down. The Canadian Embassy here in Israel warning people that sheltering in place may be the safest option for them. The U.S. military says it is continuing with 24/7 strikes into Iran, also saying it has hit nearly 2,000 targets, severely degrading Iran's air defenses. But as Katie Nicholson shows us, in a wide-ranging press conference in the Oval Office, Donald Trump today also took aim at allies who he says haven't been supportive enough.
As jets soar through the Middle East and find their targets below, the conflict there deepening, U.S. President Donald Trump delivered his damage assessment on Iran.
Oh, they have no Navy. It's been knocked out.
The U.S. and Israel launched their operation 4 days ago, but the justifications continue to shift.
It was my opinion that they were going to attack first.
Trump undercut his Secretary of State, who on Monday told reporters the U.S. acted because the Israelis were about to.
So, if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
He also addressed the thorny issue of Iranian succession, acknowledging most of the people they had originally considered are now dead. With the visiting German chancellor sitting at his side, he complained about allies reticent to be drawn into the conflict and threatened to cut off trade with Spain. Even insulted UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
All of that as the Secretary of State was back on Capitol Hill to brief lawmakers on why the U.S. attacked Iran and why now.
This weekend presented a unique opportunity to take joint action against this threat.
But whatever it was Rubio was selling in these evening briefings, Democrats weren't buying.
They have changed their justification for this time and time again, and we got nothing that even approached a justifiable reason for the president to commit an act of war.
I am more fearful than ever after this briefing that we may be putting boots on the ground.
Reaction to the Iranian attacks continues to fall along partisan lines.
We're going to unleash holy hell on them here any minute now. They're going to fall, and we're going to have a better world.
President Trump has done exactly what he should do. He is squarely within the law.
Hard lines that will only deepen as Congress debates whether to curtail Trump's war powers this week. And on that point about boots on the ground, that's something the president told the New York Post he hasn't ruled out.
And Katie, it's been interesting to see that the U.S. Central Command is releasing some of its damage assessments tonight.
Yeah, it says as of tonight, the U.S. has struck nearly 2,000 targets, sunk 17 Iranian ships and a submarine. And it's also tallied Iran strikes, saying that it has launched more than 2,000 drones and more than 500 ballistic missiles. But Adrian, Marco Rubio has said there will be much more to come from the U.S. in the coming hours and days, teasing a much bigger onslaught on Iran.
Yeah, and the potential there will make a lot of people in this part of the world very nervous. That is Katie Nicholson in Washington. Thank you. Here in the Middle East, this war has already claimed hundreds of lives, and it's growing still. Margaret Evans is in Amman, Jordan tonight. So, Margaret, there are the missiles, the drones, and now Israel is ramping up its targeting of Hezbollah.
That's right, Adrian. One of the big developments of the day, an Israeli decision to send ground troops across the border into Lebanon in what it's calling a defensive posture.
The Middle East is on fire. From the rooftops of Tehran to the crowded streets of the Hezbollah stronghold in southern Beirut. This, the aftermath of an Israeli strike aimed at the Iranian proxy many in Lebanon fear is dragging their country into the war. Israel ordered the strikes after Hezbollah launched revenge attacks for the killing of Iran's supreme leader. And Israel says it won't stop. From here, pilots embark on attacks in Tehran, says military spokesman Effie Defrin, Beirut, and any place where there's a threat to Israel's security. And leaving behind a trail of destruction. This is the Iranian capital. The people here enduring a fourth day of strikes that Israel and the United States say are in part aimed at bringing down the Iranian regime's institutions of power and oppression. In the south, parents were preparing to bury their children, a mass grave readied, and a mass funeral. Iranian authorities say 165 people, including dozens of children, were reportedly killed in the first hours of the war. Their school hit before they could be sent home. The UN is calling for an investigation, while Iran's UN ambassador in Geneva is denying the country is asking Washington for negotiations.
The only language for talking with the United States is the language of defense.
Regional analysts say Israel's decision to send ground troops across the border into Lebanon could fan the flames of the conflict even further.
There is no comparison between what Hezbollah has and what the Israelis have. But if it is troops in the ground, I think Hezbollah will have a lot of means to make it costly for the Israelis.
And now, Adrian, the French President Emmanuel Macron is urging Israel to reconsider, saying the move would be a dangerous escalation.
And Margaret, everyone wants to know what's happening in Iran. It is really tough to get information out of that country right now, but you've been in contact with some people. What are they telling you?
Mainly about how frightened they are by the strength and the power of these bombs that are hitting, especially in Tehran. They're talking about houses shaking, windows breaking, trying to avoid potential targets like police stations. But they're also talking about a very heavy security presence on the ground, on streets, checkpoints. Some people saying they're stopped 2 or 3 times on a single journey, asked where they're going. And I think it says quite a bit about a regime still in power, but one that is very, very nervous.
All right, that is Margaret Evans in Amman, Jordan. Some European countries are now sending defense forces to their allies in the region as Iran continues to target Israeli and U.S. military assets and embassies and strike Gulf states. So that raises questions about how long all these countries can keep intercepting attacks.
A British fighter jet in Jordanian airspace shooting down an Iranian drone. This is what it looks like when a war escalates astonishingly fast. The UK now sending a warship to Cyprus after its airbase was hit by Iranian strikes. The French sending an aircraft carrier to the Mediterranean.
Face à cette situation instable,
The French president calling the situation unstable and uncertain. Look how many countries are now in harm's way. These are just the Gulf states targeted by Iran. Add Cyprus and Jordan now too. And fighting alongside Iran, militias in Iraq, Hezbollah in Lebanon. That country now under huge Israeli bombardment. All this in barely 4 days.
This war has really been internationalized.
Iran making it clear it's still a threat. This fire from a drone strike near the U.S. consulate in Dubai, following drones that targeted the U.S. embassy in Riyadh. The United States has now shut embassies in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and Beirut. Tancredi Rapone is a Canadian student in the Emirates.
We had a big sort of attack, the biggest one so far probably. It was like a lot of blasts.
The Emiratis eager to show off what they've intercepted, and this isn't easy. It's the closest Gulf state to Iran, which means there's so little time to track and knock out the threat.
For every missile Iran is sending.
And for how long countries can keep batting away incoming fire isn't clear.
The Gulf states have, advanced U.S.-built missile defense systems, but sort of like everyone these days, they don't have really deep magazines of the interceptor missiles themselves. You just go through these interceptors really fast when you're facing these kinds of incoming threats.
Tel Aviv, these nights, the air defense system is working. But it's not perfect. CBC obtained exclusive footage of a strike Saturday night. Watch this. Interceptors head up, but an Iranian ballistic missile breaks through. A crater, a building so ruined it had to be torn down, a life lost, and a harsh lesson. Sometimes defense systems get overwhelmed. Exhausted and frightened people do too, and this is a region full of them.
So Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke out on the war, calling for a rapid de-escalation and also walking the line of supporting American and Israeli objectives to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, but doing so with regret. Catherine Cullen is traveling with the Prime Minister and reports from Sydney, Australia tonight.
The Prime Minister says he is being realistic. Canada would not have encouraged the U.S. and Israel to strike Iran, but Mark Carney is still backing those initial attacks.
That is not a blank check. That is not us participating. That is not us asking for something in exchange for that. None of that's true.
In fact, he says while Canada hasn't made a formal judgment, those initial strikes seem to violate global rules.
It appears that these actions are inconsistent with international law.
Donald Trump has had sharp words for some allies who have not backed his military campaign, but Carney says even with all those concerns, Canada is still ultimately supportive of those first U.S. actions because the Iranian regime is far worse.
Let's be realistic. This is a regime that is the biggest exporter of terror in the world, that has for decades terrorized the Middle East.
This conflict, he says, is yet another example of the international order failing. Now, Canada is calling for a ceasefire, but Carney seemed to acknowledge Canada's influence is limited.
That will take a broader diplomatic effort. That broader diplomatic effort will very much have to involve the countries in the Middle East that have been attacked now by Iran.
Still, some even within the Liberal Party say Carney has set a bad precedent and needs to call out Trump.
He is perpetrating lawlessness in his own country, and he's perpetrating lawlessness internationally. And Canada, for a long time, has always been standing up for those laws, and I think we look weak right now.
Some critics suggest Carney's failure to call out the U.S. contradicts his Davos speech on the world order. The Prime Minister says this is all just another example of dealing with the world as it is. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Sydney.
Now, hundreds of thousands of travelers remain stuck here in the Middle East, including nearly 100,000 Canadians registered with Global Affairs. But Canada is not sending repatriation flights at this time. Jennifer Yoon now with the frustration some are feeling.
A
a stark reminder of why the skies are closed in much of the Middle East. The airspace shut down, with the region plunging deeper into conflict. Some of the 97,000 Canadians registered with Global Affairs in the Middle East are stranded and asking Ottawa for help.
How do we get a plane out of here?
This Queen's University professor among those stranded in Doha with his students on a school trip, desperately hoping for an alternative flight path.
Flying through Oman, down, sort of skirting the southern border of Saudi Arabia.
Others considering driving to a country where the airspace remains open before flying to Canada, like this Nova Scotia woman.
My entire family is ready to move.
She doesn't feel like the Canadian government is helping. Her passport, freshly renewed, is at the embassy, which is closed, leaving her trapped.
We cannot rely on our embassies. We cannot rely on our foreign affairs. It's a very solitary feeling in this situation.
Governments around the world are scrambling to get their citizens home, some through limited commercial flights, including out of Abu Dhabi and Dubai, or through military planes sent by countries like Slovakia to get citizens out of the Middle East. The U.S. also planning on sending military and charter flights to get Americans out.
It's going to take a little time because we don't control the airspace closures.
Canada has announced no similar plans, though the foreign minister says she's asked Oman for help.
I requested use of that airspace, if necessary, for Canadian citizens to get out.
Speaking from Australia tonight, the Prime Minister said the situation remains too dangerous for large-scale evacuations, but the government is working with airlines. Canada has secured a limited number of seats on commercial flights from Beirut to Istanbul. Jennifer Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
The conflict is also causing oil and gas prices to soar, and now countries are turning to Canada as a potential alternative source, according to the Energy Minister.
You are looking for a stable and safe and reliable, values-based producer of energy and critical minerals, a producer that will not use that energy or critical minerals for economic coercion. Canada is the place to invest.
The minister says also that he has spoken to several nations about Canada's plan to build a new pipeline. This comes as strikes in the Middle East continue to disrupt oil and gas production and prevent oil tankers from accessing the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most vital shipping routes. So we'll have more from Tel Aviv in just a few minutes, including how Iranians are trying to get information amid another communications blackout. But for now, let's turn it over to Christine in Toronto with today's other top stories.
Thanks, Adrian. Gunshots were fired at a Toronto synagogue Monday night. Police say they're investigating the incident as a targeted attack. Police say no one was injured and no suspects have been identified. Authorities across the Toronto area say they're increasing their presence around places of worship and consular offices as tensions rise following the U.S. and Israel strikes on Iran. In British Columbia, a coroner's inquest is being called, looking into last month's deadly mass shooting in Tumbler Ridge. 8 people were killed, among them 6 children. Caroline Bargout now on what investigators hope to learn and whether the inquest goes far enough.
It's a question plaguing the small community of Tumbler Ridge. What led an 18-year-old to murder 8 people? Now British Columbia's chief coroner says an inquest will look to answer it.
We will be able to go back in time and look to see what shaped the individual, the perpetrator, in becoming the person that they were before they did what they did.
Jesse Van Rootselaar had known mental health issues and previous contact with police. RCMP say Van Rootselaar began transitioning to female at 12 years old. 2 years later, she dropped out of school.
If gender diversity was an issue and comes up as an issue in those circumstances, then it will be examined in a fulsome fashion.
The inquest will also look at how Van Rootselaar obtained the guns and what role technology may have played. OpenAI had banned Van Rootselaar's account last June after her interactions with its chatbot triggered an internal review, but the company didn't notify police until after the shooting. Provincial Conservatives have been calling for a public inquiry. BC's Public Safety Minister says it's not off the table.
If additional questions remain, the Premier has been clear that we will explore all options.
This legal expert was involved in Nova Scotia's Mass Casualty Commission following a rampage that left 22 dead.
The public inquiry has a broader mandate to look into the systemic and structural factors that may have contributed to mass casualties, such as the one that happened at Tumbler Ridge, whereas a coroner's inquest will be much more focused on the particular events that played out.
The inquest will eventually be held in Tumbler Ridge so the community can hear testimony firsthand. The coroner's office first has to conduct its own investigation, and that won't happen until RCMP close its case. Caroline Bargu, CBC News, Vancouver.
One of 2 Canadian tourists killed in a bus crash in the Dominican Republic has been identified. The family of 67-year-old Colleen Fullerton confirmed to CBC News that she died in the incident Sunday night that also injured 13 other people. Local authorities say a bus slid across a road in the tourist area near Kumayasa, just west of Punta Cana, as the travelers were being transported from the airport to their hotels. Pierre Poilievre was in the UK today on his first foreign trip as opposition leader.
Canada must become stronger at home so that we have unbreakable leverage abroad.
His strategy overseas as he tries to boost his party's polling numbers at home. Plus, with 100 days until the FIFA World Cup, the scramble for affordable accommodation in Canada's host cities.
My honeymoon was in Hawaii, and I'm pretty sure we paid less per night there.
And the daring sky-high rescue after an air balloon ride gone wrong.
They were very scared. They're counting on us to come get them.
We're back in 2. Pierre Poilievre is in London tonight, part of his first foreign trip as opposition leader. He delivered a speech today outlining his worldview. Tom Perry looks at the strategy and how it could resonate back home.
Of the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada.
Pierre Poilievre knows all about being an opposition attack dog, but these days, the Conservative leader is trying to sound more like a prime minister.
Canada must become stronger at home so that we have unbreakable leverage abroad.
Poilievre in London speaking to a Conservative think tank.
For generations, free markets lowered costs, raised wages, and lifted billions out of poverty. Yet, they are facing major pushback today from the twin threats of socialism and protectionism.
In front of a friendly audience, including former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss, the shortest-serving PM in British history. The crowd welcoming Poilievre's message.
I thought it was absolutely incredible. I thought he gave such a passionate defense of the capitalist system and a real sign of optimism.
But that optimistic message abroad comes after a rough period for Poilievre at home. 3 MPs have abandoned his Conservative caucus, and polls suggest the governing Liberals and Prime Minister Mark Carney enjoy a healthy lead. Carney, for a time, enjoying a bump in support after his speech to the World Economic Forum in Davos in January.
I think part of it's presentational. I think part of it is just looking and sounding the part.
Andrew McDougall was communications director for former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He sees Poilievre trying to boost his own credibility in areas where Carney holds the advantage.
The lesson from the last election ought to have been when push came to shove and Canadians had to make a choice. They chose a leader in Mr. Carney who was unknown, but what he was known for was his presence on the world stage, his experience as the Bank of Canada governor and the Bank of England governor.
Whether Poilievre's strategy will work is still unknown. The Conservative leader travels next to Germany before returning to Canada and its political realities. Tom Perry, CBC News, London.
As the war in the Middle East escalates, people in Iran remain cut off by internet blackouts.
The Iranian government have shown that the internet can be weaponized. The internet is a tool.
How the regime is controlling information and the danger that poses to people on the ground.
Plus, the push for food independence in Canada.
To have Canada have more control over its own food supply is what I hope will be my legacy.
How businesses here are pivoting in the face of tariff threats. The National breaks down the story shaping our world next. Canada is getting set to co-host the World Cup this summer with matches set for Toronto and Vancouver. But as Yasmin Renea shows us, finding a place to stay in one of those cities is a real struggle.
1052, 996.
100 days away from the start of the World Cup, and Shuterto Saha still can't find a place to stay in Vancouver.
It's sad to see the fact that you have tickets to see the games, but finding accommodation is going to be one of the hardest things to do.
Tens of thousands of visitors are expected to descend on the city as it hosts 7 games, and hotels are booking up quickly.
We know that we're going to be in popular demand. June and July is our high season.
The tourism board says the city has a hotel shortage and may not be able to fulfill demand. Vancouver has about 13,000 hotel rooms, roughly 10,000 fewer than Toronto. Vancouver has lost about 550 hotel rooms since 2020, partly because some older hotels like this one were turned into supportive housing units. The province says hundreds of hotel rooms are in the development pipeline, but they're not expected to open between now and the World Cup.
The number of hotels clearly represented in the price, right?
Australian Yordan Kostedanov is coming to Vancouver for his second World Cup and is shocked at the prices, upwards of $1,000 a night.
My honeymoon was in Hawaii and I'm pretty sure we paid less per night there.
There are also fewer places for World Cup fans to stay because of short-term rental restrictions, which only allow people to rent out their primary residence. And while there are many advertisements online, it likely won't be enough to fill the gap, says this urban planner.
Some folks may not want the inconvenience of leaving their units unless of course they're traveling for a prolonged period of time.
On Airbnbs,
Saha hopes to find a place soon.
I've been looking at Surrey, Westminster, down the Fraser Valley, and I have found places in Vancouver Island.
Which means he could be looking at a ferry ride or an hour drive to get to the stadium. Yasmin Ghaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
Welcome back to Tel Aviv, where we're into the overnight hours on the 4th night of the war here in the Middle East. A new round of airstrikes in a conflict that threatens to envelop the entire region. The United States and Israel bombarding Iran. Israel also striking Hezbollah targets in Lebanon, while Iran answers back with a barrage of missiles. The U.S. president laying out his justification for attacking Iran.
We were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first.
Nearly a dozen countries now involved in the conflict. For those inside Iran, trying to follow the developments accurately in the war is almost an impossibility. The regime's internet blackout leaving most in the dark. Ashley Fraser breaks down how Iran is managing to throttle online information and what it means for Iranians just trying to survive the conflict.
So there's effectively little to no internet in Iran.
In shutting off the internet, the Iranian government have shown that the internet can be weaponized. The internet is a tool.
That means the level of communication with anyone out of Iran is almost zero.
This is torture, not knowing if your loved ones is still alive.
And this isn't the first time. The last blackout in January, after protests broke out against the regime, lasted 3 weeks. This time, since strikes began, connectivity has been at 1%. The 3 experts I spoke to told me how the regime's sophisticated blackout is controlling the flow of information.
We can see that while it may be 99% down, there's definitely a small portion of the population that maintains connectivity. That's by design.
He says that most of Iran's internet connection to the global internet works through one company, which can be controlled by the Iranian government.
They have the ability, because of that kind of bottleneck arrangement, that they can throttle or block traffic. We've noticed some evolution of their technique where they have become more sophisticated in how they can control traffic.
This is really important. Nayana Prakash has studied blackouts in Iran.
We've seen the outbreak of protests, and it's thought the shutdowns were a tool of keeping people quiet while the protests were going on. It's a punitive measure.
And Amir Rashidi, an Iranian digital rights expert, agrees.
The Iranian government definitely weaponized internet.
He says the government has started doing something called whitelisting to control the flow of information in Iran.
In whitelisting, basically the entire internet is blocked except a couple of services or websites that the government likes people to have access.
This is really important because it means that even if the internet is restored, it likely won't be restored at the same time for everyone on equal footing.
Plus, the usual tools that Iranians might use to get around the blackouts, like VPNs, are very spotty, if available at all. And using a satellite like Starlink carries severe consequences.
And if you're seen to be in a accommodation or house which has the kind of telltale sign of the satellite above the building, you could be arrested.
This is something that's been very familiar for Sarah Mansouri, based in Canada. She's been trying to communicate with friends and family in Iran since the war began.
It's not that you can have like what we do here, people outside of Iran go purchase a Starlink, install it, get the subscription. It's not like that. It's illegal and it's super expensive, and it's not that like lots of people can afford it.
And Prakash says not having communication and connection to friends and family outside pose dangers to Iranians in the country.
As there are strikes in Iran, and it means that people aren't able to verify information or even receive information or receive advance warning of some of these strikes. It's placing ordinary Iranians in a place of deep uncertainty and fear.
Having access to the internet is not just a privilege again, it's not just for education, it's saving lives.
And the shutdown goes beyond censoring information. It also means relatives of the people there aren't able to connect to find out any information about their loved ones.
You are not even able to comfort them by phone or like FaceTime or telling them, hey, you're gonna be okay. Like, we are here, we are trying to support you. No one can imagine how people outside of Iran like go through their life every day with the minimum connection, minimum knowledge about what is happening.
The worry from the experts I spoke to is that the blackout could be used again and again, even outside of Iran.
These authoritarian countries watch each other and they learn from each other as far as developing techniques.
My fear is not just that we see this continue in Iran, but actually that we see other countries get ideas from this kind of blackout, and that we see the spread of shutdowns across the world. It shouldn't be possible for there to be an internet kill switch. There should be decentralized nodes of control that don't rest with the government. And I think a question for internet activists and creators of tech should be, how can we make the internet more resilient?
And resiliency is something that many in this region will desperately need over the coming days, weeks, maybe even months. That's all for me from Tel Aviv tonight. Now it's back to Christine in Toronto.
Thanks, Adrian. Coming up, in a rapidly shifting trade climate, some question the sovereignty of Canada's food supply.
We've been reliant on other countries importing products that we don't produce here in Canada.
How some businesses are taking up the fight for Canada's food independence next. In the face of tariffs and annexation threats, some business owners are echoing the words of the Prime Minister.
It's important that Canada be able to feed itself, fuel itself, and defend itself.
But is it even possible for Canada to feed itself when more than half our agri-food imports come from the U.S.? Nick Purdon introduces us to some businesses who are investing millions in pursuit of Canadian food independence.
To have Canada have more control over its own food supply is what I hope will be my legacy project of my career.
In the past, been so reliant on imports of various food items. This food independence, I think, is critical.
I've never felt more proud to be Canadian. And so when I look at, doubling down on our business, why wouldn't I?
President Trump threatening Canada with tariffs is almost an everyday occurrence. And the threats work because we're so dependent on the U.S. I mean, take food, for example. Almost 70% of our food and agricultural imports come from the States. But does it have to be that way? What would it take for Canada to be more self-reliant and stand up to Trump's whims?
So you can see blocks of metal set up here. I love taking my son through the grocery store and saying, this was made at our factory in Brantford. That's fantastic.
Meet Garnet Lasby, president of Massili North America, a company based in Brantford, Ontario that makes metal lids for food jars. More than 1 billion of them a year.
It's important that Canada be able to feed itself, fuel itself, and defend itself. And those are not my words, those are the words of Prime Minister Carney. And we're contributing to Canada's ability to continue to feed itself.
Garnett believes food storage is key to independence.
If you don't have a cap, but you have a jar and you have tomatoes, you have a lot of rotten tomatoes. The same is true with cans. If you have tomatoes and no cans, 2 weeks later, you no longer have much that's worth anything.
And here's the thing. We use billions of cans in Canada for the food industry, but almost all of them come from the U.S.
Lots of Canadian agricultural products wind up in cans. We'd like those cans to be made in Canada and then sold on Canadian retail shelves. In anticipation of bringing the can production online is...
For Garnett, the Buy Canada movement is part of the business case for his company to spend $85 million to start making cans here.
You can see this is all just pieces of the process. We need coating rolls to go in the machines. These are all...
He admits it would have been easier just to keep making lids.
This is not the path of least resistance. We're pivoting into a different product so that we can support the Canadian agri-food industry. Okay, I mean, that's more construction, but I guess if you're going to do the other side for the coil line.
Garnett meets with the team in charge of designing the new production lines to make cans. And he pushes them to be ready for this year's harvest.
We need to keep in mind the timing to be able to catch the season. Like 100% of the cans have to be made and ready to ship by September. Otherwise, you miss the season.
Yes.
So, clock's ticking, right?
Yes.
Okay.
As long as you only keep,
Masili wants to profit from making cans in Canada, sure, but for Garnett, there's more, especially now as Canada tries to be more independent.
I hadn't either, actually. We are investing in the equipment to be able to use Canadian steel for these Canadian cans, as opposed to imported steel. And that, to me, is very important, because if I'm using anything other than Canadian steel, it's a spear in my heart, and we need to use that steel for the products that we need, and contributing to the fact that we control our ability to feed ourselves as a nation.
Of course, a nation needs not only cans of food to feed itself, but fresh fruits and vegetables. And that's what we import the most. And the top of that list are leafy greens. 90% of the lettuces we eat in Canada come from south of the border. Here's someone who's trying to change that.
You can see as you look down, each and every day the plants get bigger and bigger because they're working towards growing to the exit at the very far end.
Andy O'Brien is CEO of Goodleaf, the largest vertical farming company in the country. Since Trump got elected, their business has taken off. They can't keep up with demand.
I've never seen the pro-Canadian sentiment the way I've seen it over the last year. It's almost like you walked into the grocery store and every category that had a Canadian brand was empty, including ours. Our sales went up 4 times overnight, and it hasn't stopped.
Even so, Goodleaf only has about 10% of the Canadian market, but they're betting they can get more. The company is investing $52 million to double production at their farms across the country.
This is our germination room here, where it was almost like a sauna, where they go in there for 2 days, where they literally germinate before they go into our actual grow room.
The name of the game in vertical farming is to control every step of the growing process.
We control all the light, we control the air, and we control the water. Even if you look up, you can see that some of the benches are dark because our plants are sleeping right now. We're still, on the scale of things, relatively small, but I do see over time that continuing to increase, and that will help us today and continue to grow us into the future and allow us to be way more independent.
Why does that matter?
Because you can control your own destiny. You don't have to rely on external factors, whether it be political, whether it be financial. You know, if you're inside the 4 borders of Canada, you can control your own destiny. I think that's really important to companies, and it's really important to Canadians.
No matter what's happening outside, in here they grow 11 billion plants a year.
So Nick, here you have it. This is our crisp lettuce, which was spent 15 days in our grow room. The yields on our products are almost 100%. This is the beginning of it being very, very obvious to all of us in Canada that we need to be much more independent, but it's just the beginning. I think over the course of the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to see a lot more independence, not only in leafy greens, but in other sectors as well.
One of the challenges to Canadian self-sufficiency has always been that we export raw materials and we buy back finished products. This happens with food too. That's what Martin Vanderloo wants to change.
I think is a wake-up call for Canadians. We've been reliant on other countries importing products that we don't produce here in Canada.
Martin built this demonstration facility to prove that Canada can do more than just export crops. As a farmer who's been around soybeans his whole life, he knows where we fall short.
I was surprised that we're not taking soy and further processing it into food products or food ingredients. So this is the soybean that the farmer would deliver to us, the extraction equipment.
Martin tells me that processing soybeans isn't easy, and he admits that at 68, this project is the biggest challenge of his life.
So this is the unit that we extract the oil from the soybeans.
So what's Martin's pitch?
So we're going to produce soy protein powder here in Canada that's never been done in this country before, but we're going to do it in a way that's never been done anywhere in the world in the past.
Okay. Martin's idea is big. Soy protein is used in thousands of foods we eat, from baby formula to power bars. And right now, we import all of it from the U.S. The other remarkable thing? Martin's process won't use chemicals.
And this is kind of where the magic happens.
These days, Martin is CEO of a company called New Protein International. Local soybean farmers like John Moore come by to hear about the new opportunity.
So rather than exporting raw soybeans out of this country, we can certainly export soy protein isolate as well. So we take the soybeans that you've produced.
Martin explains that it's the economic uncertainty in Canada right now that's actually pushing him to succeed.
My wife asks me frequently, why are you doing this? I mean, you're of retirement age, you should be retired. For me, it's just an opportunity that shouldn't be lost, and I'll do what I can to make it happen here in Canada. So we take the split beans and we heat them.
It's striking. These three companies aren't cowering. Each of them is making a bet on the future.
What if we don't do this? What if we don't do things like this in this country right now?
I think we leave ourselves exposed to a continued hollowing out of our economy. I think we need to use the natural resources that we've been gifted with to make the products that we require here in Canada for the stability of the future of our economy and for the young folks like my son who need jobs in Canada. If we don't do that, I think we expose future generations to enormous risk that those jobs just won't be there. And at some point, the food that we need may not be there either.
Experts say strengthening domestic production, increasing greenhouse capacity, and boosting local processing are key to enhancing Canada's food independence. Coming up, 2 people are left hanging after a hot air balloon crashes in a city in Texas.
We were able to see the hot air balloon approximately 1,000 feet in the air on a tower.
That high-stakes rescue mission is next in our moment. This is the moment a hot air balloon got stuck on a cell phone tower about 280 meters in the air in Longview, Texas. Emergency crews rushed in to help 2 people who were stuck inside the basket when it crashed. That high-stakes rescue makes our moment.
We were dispatched for a rescue. We were able to see the hot air balloon approximately 1,000 feet in the air on a tower. This was definitely a first. We knew that we had 2 occupants inside the balloon. They weren't injured. They were very scared. They're counting on us to come get them. This particular tower only had a 1-foot wide ladder that we physically had to climb. We were just thinking one step at a time. The canopy of the balloon was flapping in the wind. The top rescuer, the balloon would like wrap around him, and then the wind would let loose and he would uncover. So, he had some obstacles. Once we had the basket tied to the tower and it was secured, we were able to slide 2 victim harnesses over. They actually had to climb out of the basket in the open air. They swung over to the tower, we hooked them in. They're very thankful, grateful, and so much more secure. And that was a pretty good feeling.
That looked terrifying. What you can't see and hear is that the whole community came out to watch and cheer on this rescue. And they were so loud, emergency responders could hear them all the way at the top. The whole rescue took about 4 hours. They're still investigating why the balloon crashed. Well, from all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. I'm Christine Birak. Take good care.